Hi, I'm Rachel Senes with City TV, and welcome to Inside Santa Barbara, the city's only news magazine show. We bring you up to date on the city's latest projects, issues, and events. Today we are coming to you from the Maritime Museum, whose goal is to preserve the maritime heritage of the California coast and offer the public opportunities to learn about that heritage. This building used to be the old Naval Reserve Center. In 1942, the city sold this building for $1 to the federal government in support of the war effort. Although sailors are no longer stationed here, Santa Barbara still welcomes them to the city. Recently, the newest and largest ship in the U.S. Navy was anchored off our coast. As sailors enjoyed their liberty in Santa Barbara, some locals were invited inside their home, the USS Ronald Reagan. City TV was invited aboard the aircraft carrier as it cruised from Santa Barbara to San Diego. And as you're about to see in our top story, there was a lot for us to learn while out at sea. In January, there was something different about the Santa Barbara coast. It caught the attention of passers-by who couldn't help but stop and stare. The object of their curiosity was no ordinary ship. This one towers 20 stories high. It's nearly as long as the Empire State Building is tall. It's only a warship to many, but to 6,000 sailors, it's also home. We are on the flight deck of the USS Ronald Reagan. Now, this aircraft carrier has dropped a 30-ton anchor 1 mile off the coast of Santa Barbara. Being here on the ship gives Santa Barbans an opportunity to learn about history as well as be a part of it. But most Santa Barbans could only admire the ship from a distance.
Don't stand up.
Security restraints make it difficult to tour one of the most powerful weapons in the world. Those who are welcomed aboard are known as distinguished visitors.
A distinguished visitor is somebody who has been invited out here either through a group or an organization. Usually they stay overnight and they get the grand tour.
Among those who got the grand tour, over 200 young adults from nearby sports teams, JROTC, and Santa Barbara's Police Activities League, including high school senior Courtney Gutierrez.
Because it's interesting, like you don't see this at all, this is like a once in a lifetime opportunity, like to be able just to come onto a ship like this and see how life is here and walk all like the different ways around here and see everything. It's amazing.
An opinion echoed by Julio Camera and Whitney Chapman, high school students and leaders in their school's JROTC, or Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps.
They get an experience and an actual see of what things really are, not just from what they hear or from what they say in TV. They actually get to see in their own eyes.
It's rare for other groups and such to go on such things like the USS Reagan. So it's pretty amazing for people like just regular people to go, but for us to go, it's pretty amazing too.
Amazing to be surrounded by more than 47,000 tons of steel. Chad Bascom has been in the Navy for 6 years. Bascom says that sailors stick to a strict routine every day.
Day starts off at about 6 a.m. Lights go on in the berthing. You get up, shower and shave and get breakfast. All that's got to be done within an hour because at 7 o'clock they have what they call quarters. Everyone comes together and they muster and make sure everyone's there. You got about half an hour at 7:30. They do what's called Spirit of 76. That's an hour of cleaning.
After Spirit of 76, sailors go to their everyday jobs. At 7 o'clock p.m., they muster again. But unlike many normal jobs, the day may not end there.
Everybody's on call at all times. If something were to happen, everybody's ready to go.
Ready to go with so many places to go, like the navigation bridge where the captain commands the ship. The Command Direction Center where communication is established with nearby vessels.
This is basically the brains of the ship. We do all the controlling of aircraft in this space here, and this is where we tactically defend the ship when we're underway or at war.
The flight deck, which stretches 4.5 acres. The jet shop,
This is called the jet shop, and what we do back here is we repair jet engines.
And the hangar bay where aircraft are typically stored.
We can store up to about 60 aircraft in here at a time, and they usually tend to park them about 6 inches apart.
It's also grounds for training exercises like simulated aviation fires. In addition to training exercises, each sailor aboard the Reagan has his or her own job. Adrian Melendez supervises the ship's TV station.
We'll put out we have 16 channels that we can put whatever content we want on it. 4 of those channels are movie channels.
With 19 years in the Navy and just 9 more months until retirement, Mila Thomas supervises food operations.
For dessert, we have carrot cake, cookies, ice cream, everything you want, we have it.
And what they also have are rules for just about everything, even when it comes to eating.
Shipmate, roll your sleeve, please. Roll your sleeve. If your sleeve is not rolled, roll it up. Thank you.
Whether you're trying to get to the kitchen for chow or the hangar bay for muster, getting there can be a task in itself. The ship's stairs are more like ladders.
They're not very wide, only one person at a time, either up or down. That's why when we have drills, you go up on one side and down on the other. So that way there's not a big running into each other, because you only have 4 minutes to get anywhere on the ship when a drill's called away.
The ship's hallways are also narrow, and there isn't much space in their bedrooms either.
This is a berthing. This is a 27-man, and this is how close the quarters are. As you can tell, if you were to lay in this rack and try and roll over, you can't. There's not much room. And if you're on your side, you got enough room to. You can't roll over.
Compare that 27-male berthing to our room, a stateroom that a naval officer would typically occupy. It's only 2 beds high, has a couple of desks, a TV, and a sink. Just like getting places may seem like a task, so is getting some shut-eye.
Sleeping on a ship is very hard.
Although distinguished visitors may have a hard time getting some sleep, sailors are used to the noise. Santa Barbara High School senior and Police Activities League member Isidro Rodriguez says he discovered that a sailor's life is not an easy one.
I learned about all the drills that they have to do and all the hard work that they do to make their missions on sea successful, and how hard it is for them to live life out here, because we slept in like where they sleep, and it's really loud. To be listening to that every night, I think it'd be really hard for them to go to sleep so they can get enough rest to do their job the next day.
But Captain Terry Kraft says there is much more than just doing their jobs.
We have, probably half our sailors are involved in some type of advanced education, working on an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree. And I think that's neat as well, that they see, learning is a lifelong occupation. It doesn't just end with high school.
With so much to do on board, you'd think sailors would be anxious to take it easy once they get on shore. But for many sailors like Sarah McClurk and Chris Dale, liberty is more about giving than taking.
Every port call that we hit, we actually go out and we help paint, we help rebuild buildings, we read to little kids, we do whatever we can just to help people out.
I guess I realized I had been pretty selfish with my liberty. All I ever did was have fun, do things for me, and I decided I need to take a break and do things for other people.
Among those things, teaming up with the city to help repaint Skaters Point.
Forward. March.
Across town, Captain Charlie Plum was offering Santa Barbara a service of a different kind. The former naval pilot flew combat missions over North Vietnam. On his 75th mission, he was shot down, captured, tortured and imprisoned in a small cell. He spent over 2,000 days as a prisoner of war. Now, Captain Plum is a motivational speaker, speaking to a local audience while the USS Ronald Reagan was docked in Santa Barbara. Despite his experience as a prisoner of war, Plum says distinguished visitors aboard the Reagan can gain a lot after just one day in the life of a sailor.
I really believe it's a very positive experience for anyone, and especially young people. And you go aboard the Reagan and you see the average age of the 5,000 men and women aboard Reagan is 22 years old. They're kids. And yet they're working 18-hour days, 20-hour days, over and over and over. And they're smiling and they're happy and they're singing and whistling. And, you know, where do we get these people? The Reagan has been out on deployment more days in the last 3 years than any ship in the Navy. These guys work awfully hard.
Working hard even as the sun sets on the ship's way to the San Diego Naval Base. Although these sailors tell me they enjoy visiting different ports like Santa Barbara, they also say there's nothing like returning back to their home port here in San Diego. But just because they have stopped at home doesn't mean the work stops. Here, these sailors will prepare for a long deployment overseas, away from their families, again. It's a difficult thing to be away from loved ones, but there's one thing that Santa Barbara native Omar Navarro has learned while being in the Navy that goes beyond his job.
Not to take anything for granted. Sometimes being away from your family for about 6 months, more or less, you spend a lot of time away from your family, but you get to appreciate it when you come back home.
For young people on board, it puts things into perspective.
Not everything's easy. You always have to work for everything. It's not all fun and games, and you just have to give it your all.
Most people think it's running, gunning, boot camp. That's all they really see. But it goes a little deeper than that.
I think what's interesting for young people, and I say this having teenagers of my own, is that they get to experience and see a ship with a group of people that are dedicated to a mission. Not so inward-looking, not so self-focused, but dedicated to the success of the ship.
And after just a couple of days aboard the USS Ronald Reagan, distinguished visitors were left exhausted but impressed.
It's a good experience. I'm never going to forget this.
Never going to forget a rare experience as a distinguished visitor, to walk in the shoes of a sailor and to apply lessons learned to what now seems like the simple life back home. The USS Ronald Reagan will deploy for 6 months in the spring of this year. They will be supporting operations in Iraq and on a security mission in the Persian Gulf. Well, here at the Maritime Museum, the Sailing and Yacht exhibit offers visitors the opportunity to learn about local boating history and also about past sailors and their ships. This hands-on exhibit gives visitors an opportunity to pilot a 52-foot motor yacht and learn about the physics of sailing. Boating is a popular sport here in Santa Barbara. It's evident by the long waiting list for slips in our picturesque harbor. Yet as beautiful as the ocean can be, the corrosive cocktail that is seawater takes its toll on everything that it touches. Up next, Van Tu shows us how the ill effects of salt water and time have had on Marina One and what the Waterfront Department plans to do about it.
One of Santa Barbara's great loves lies between the sandy shores and the horizon. But to take advantage of the vast seas, ocean lovers like Captain Helene Webb need a safe place to dock their boats.
We've all chosen to live out here, and that's part of the adventure. Challenges are something sailors are usually up for.
That's where the harbor comes in. But Marina One, where Webb lives and works, is in need of repair. Waterfront Facilities Manager Carl Treiberg showed us the areas where Marina One needs attention.
So it's a pretty thin layer of concrete around some foam, and the foam causes the dock to float. And this thin layer of concrete, it's maybe only an inch thick, and it's got rebar in it, it's got steel and steel mesh in it. And as water and air penetrate the concrete and get to the steel rusts and expands and causes the concrete to split off. Here's a particularly bad section that needs to be repaired. You can see how easily this crumbles and falls apart. The way these docks are held together are by these wooden frames that are called whalers. So as these deteriorate, the whole docking system can become unstable. The cleats are actually in the whalers themselves, so you could have problems with the cleats pulling out. So it's falling apart sort of from the inside out.
One of the most surprising elements of the marina is the utilities infrastructure.
All the utilities on this old section of dock are external. They don't go within the docks themselves, and they all, as you can see, they can hang in the water. And part of the problem is it's exposed to the marine environment and salt water, and the hangers that hold it up to the dock, they deteriorate and break, so they fall in. And once one section falls, it gets really heavy and pulls the other sections down. And as it fails, it causes part of the dock to fail. So it's kind of one of these cascading problems.
An extensive maintenance program has helped extend the marina's life beyond expectation.
This type of docking system is a concrete docking system, and they usually last about 20 to 25 years. We've gotten about 30 years out of this system.
Marina 1 is the largest docking system in the harbor, holding about 600 vessels. In order to deal with the large number of boats that will be displaced during construction, the plan is to make changes over time.
We're going to start off with the main headwalk, and then we'll move on to about 2 fingers every other year. Each finger holds about 40 to 50 vessels. So in hopefully 10 to 15 years, the entire thing will be brand new.
Another benefit of a long-term project is cost, as upgrading the marina all at once would be expensive.
We're going to probably borrow the money, at least for the first few phases, from the State Department of Boating and Waterways. We have cost estimates for the first 3 phases of about $6 million. And so in April, the Department of Boating and Waterways will consider our loan application. Hopefully they'll fund it, and then we'll just borrow the money as we need it.
The project will be an investment to keep the marina ship-shape for many years to come. As part of the planning and budgeting, feedback from marina stakeholders plays a significant role.
We also have a boater questionnaire, and for anybody who's involved in Marina 1, they're welcome to fill it out, let us know what their concerns are.
There's a lot of people that come out and use their boat 2 times a year, and then there are many of us who come out or who use and live on our boats every day. As much as it will be very disruptive, it's definitely time, and I think it's good that they're doing it before we have a situation.
A situation that other marinas are all too familiar with. In Santa Cruz and the Channel Islands harbor, lack of maintenance and upgrades has caused damage ranging from unbalanced docks to total destruction. For Webb, Marina 1 is more than just a place to store her boats.
The harbor is a community. It's a great neighborhood, nice people, and we're all here because we love the ocean and hope to protect the ocean and tell people what a wonderful place it is and to enjoy it and take care of it.
For more information about the Marina 1 replacement project, visit our website, citytv18.com. Well, for 85 years, something has been missing in Santa Barbara. If you take a short trip to the cities to our south, you'll realize quickly that the answer is staring you in the face: signs. Up next, we'll learn about the city's long-held beliefs when it comes to signage, as well as the ordinance that banned the billboard.
Natural beauty, small-town feel, distinct architecture, historic traditions. When describing the look and feel of Santa Barbara, those are all accurate expressions. One phrase that would not fit in that list, however, is overbearing signage. The uniqueness of Santa Barbara's signs is one of the many aspects that sets the city apart from other towns.
Santa Barbara is a very attractive city because of caring about how it looks. And people appreciate that. They like to come here because it's so lovely. It's not just the ocean and it's not just the mountains. It's the general ambiance of the city.
Because the look and feel of the town is one of its most important features, the city of Santa Barbara has long upheld a fairly stringent signage policy.
It's one of the strictest that I've even heard of. If you look up and down State Street, you'll see what I'm talking about. Compare this to just about any other city that you go to. It's just much more visually calm, and that's what we're striving for here.
The history history behind the city's sign ordinance highlights residents' activism to keep Santa Barbara a unique coastal community. The city adopted its first sign ordinance in 1922, recognizing that signs are an integral part of the cityscape and that signage can either detract from or enhance the city's image and character. Changes to the ordinance oversight have occurred over time, which eventually led to the creation of a separate sign committee in 1981.
It's very difficult for the two major reviewing bodies to take on the signs. So the way the sign committee is set up now, it relieves the larger bodies of having to look at every sign that goes up in the community.
The purpose of the sign committee is to try to exemplify and keep the aesthetic quality of Santa Barbara. We go through the sign ordinance and the sign review guidelines to come up with the best aesthetic for that sign, both design quality and the actual signage, so that it's most useful for their property.
And though the sign committee is there to work with applicants, knowing a few of the ordinance's details before starting the sign process is helpful. For most businesses, you get 1 square foot of signage for every linear foot of storefront. Letter heights are limited to 12 inches, and in El Pueblo Viejo, the city's historic district, letter heights are limited to 10 inches, and signs must be made of all natural materials such as wood or metal.
Two things in particular that are a big problem for us. Banners are prohibited. All those banners that you see around town are illegal. Absolutely prohibited by the ordinance. No exceptions. Another is portable signs. All those are also strictly prohibited.
Other prohibited signs include flashing or changing signs, pennants, billboards, off-site signs, and mobile signs.
With all of the details involved in putting up a sign in Santa Barbara, it can be helpful to have one place with all of the information. When you come to the city's planning counter, you can get all the materials you need in one spot.
Another way to streamline the process of putting up a sign in the city is to visit a local sign maker.
It's a very simple process, especially for those sign makers who do it all the time.
Ken Sorgman has been making signs in Santa Barbara for over 30 years and has served on the sign committee. He says that one important thing for residents to remember is to stay flexible.
Hopefully they will listen to me. Sometimes they don't, and they're just really adamant about having the sign a certain way. And I'll explain to them, well, I'll present this. Let me have this alternate design here, which I think will have more of a chance of getting approved so that we can speed up this process.
And even though making both his customers and the sign committee happy can be a challenge, he feels that the process is worth the final product.
If you look at signage here in Santa Barbara and how it works within the architecture that we have here and compare that with other cities, I think it's something that is really of value here, that we really need.
We have always felt that Santa Barbara was special, and to do business here was a special thing. It's worth the effort on the part of the city and on the part of the people who volunteer for the city and for people who have businesses in the city to really care about how things look. So yeah, it's a bother, but it's worth it.
I hope that people appreciate what we're doing and that we're not here to deny you your signage or deny you your right to be seen by the public. Just look around. It's beautiful.
You can learn more about the city's sign ordinance by visiting our website, citytv18.com. Well, over the years, foul weather in the Santa Barbara Channel has taken its toll on ships and human lives. At the Maritime Museum, you can see some of the most significant wrecks to happen here, including the Navy's worst peacetime disaster. Well, last month, Santa Barbara experienced its own troubles due to the weather after storms dropped over 10 inches of rain on the city. Residents and businesses in low-lying areas have had an especially hard time during these events, but fortunately, the city has a free service to help people keep the water at bay. City TV's Dominique Blocker has the scoop.
It's that time of year again in Santa Barbara, the rainy season. And though the much-needed rain has many benefits, it can create a flood of problems as well.
Chapala Street has a downgrade on it, and so the water flows downhill. And what happens is that it comes along the side of the Hotel Andalusia and flows over the sidewalk onto the sidewalk in front of my store. And so we ended up having water damage to some products that were in our back room.
The city of Santa Barbara can't stop Mother Nature, but it can help you shore things up when the rain starts coming down.
And when the National Weather Service issues a flood watch for Santa Barbara, and it's confirmed by public works officials, we staff this yard to make sandbags available to the public. This policy was created to assist the public with protecting their properties.
When you come to the annex yard at 401 East John and Ollie, you can fill up to 20 sandbags per trip so you can help protect your property.
And during major storms, the city also makes sandbags available at 625 Laguna Street and the golf course at 3500 McCaw Avenue. Residents who have used the service say it has not only kept them dry, it has kept them from drowning in water damage repair bills.
The second time that it started raining, my husband went down to the city annex and he picked up sandbags, and we set the sandbags up, and of course that eliminated the problem. It's really been beneficial to my business because we don't have water damage because of the sandbags.
The free sandbags were in high demand during last month's storm as well.
We had over 2,700 sandbags that were taken from the yard by residents to protect their property.
For those who want to prepare ahead of time, local home and garden stores such as Bedrock Building Supplies, Hayward Lumber, and Santa Barbara Stone have sandbag supplies year-round.
We encourage residents to be proactive and take precautions in advance of storms. Sometimes that's not always possible, so we open up this site.
I really think it's beneficial for the community to know that the city provides these sandbags free of charge.
It's an excellent service, there's no doubt about it. I mean, anytime that you have a chance to help protect somebody's property, I think it's a big plus.
Well, that does it for this month's episode of Inside Santa Barbara and our tour of the Maritime Museum. Next month, we'll take you somewhere new and tell you about what's going on inside Santa Barbara. If you have any questions or comments about the show, give us a call at City TV at 564-5311. You can also watch the show online at citytv18.com. I'm your host, Rachel Asenis. Thanks so much for watching, and remember to get involved inside Santa Barbara.